Today we are engaged in a final all-out battle between communistic atheism and Christianity. The modern champions of communism have selected this as the time, and ladies and gentlemen, the chips are down. They are truly down. If there be any doubt, the time has been chosen. Let us go directly to the leader of communism today, Joseph Stalin. Here is what he said, not back in 1928, not before the war, not during the war, but 2 years after the last war was ended. As one of our outstanding historical figures once said, when a great democracy is destroyed, it will not be from enemies from without, but rather because of enemies from within. The truth of this statement is becoming terrifyingly clear as we see this country each day losing on every front. Unfortunately, we have failed miserably and tragically to rise to the opportunity. The reason why we find ourselves in a position of impotency is not because our only powerful potential enemy has sent men to invade our shores, but rather because of the traitorous actions of those who have been treated so well by this nation. It is the result of an emotional hangover and a temporary moral lapse which follows every war. It is the apathy to evil which people who have been subjected to the tremendous evils of war feel as the people of the world see mass murder, the destruction of defenseless and innocent people, and all of the crime and lack of morals which go with war. They become numb and apathetic. At war's end, we're physically the strongest nation on earth, and at least potentially the most powerful intellectually and morally. Ours could have been the honor of being a beacon in the desert of destruction, a shining, living proof that civilization was not yet ready to destroy itself. Today we are engaged in a final all-out battle between communistic atheism and Christianity. The modern champions of communism have selected this as the time, and ladies and gentlemen, the chips are down. They are truly down. If there be any doubt, the time has been chosen. Let us go directly to the leader of communism today, Joseph Stalin. Here is what he said, not back in 1928, not before the war, not during the war, but 2 years after the last war was ended. It has always been thus after war. However, the morals of our people have not been destroyed. They still exist. This cloak of numbness and apathy has only needed a spark to rekindle them. Happily, this spark has finally been supplied. We are dealing with a far more sinister type of activity because it permits the enemy to guide and shape our policy. This brings us down to the case of one Alger Hiss, who is important not as an individual anymore, but rather because he is representative of a group in the State Department. Today we are engaged in a final all-out battle between communistic atheism and Christianity. The modern champions of communism have selected this as the time, and ladies and gentlemen, the chips are down. They are truly down. If there be any doubt, the time has been chosen. Let us go directly to the leader of communism today, Joseph Stalin. Here is what he said, not back in 1928, not before the war, not during the war, but 2 years after the last war was ended. There, the bright young men who are born with silver spoons in their mouths are the ones who have been worst. In my opinion, State Department, which is one of the most important government departments, is thoroughly infested with communists. It has not been the less fortunate or members of minority groups who have been selling this nation out, but rather those who have had all the benefits that the wealthiest nation on earth has had to offer: the finest homes, the finest college education, and the finest jobs in government we can give. This is glaringly true in the State Department. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, one of the important reasons for the graft, the corruption, the dishonesty, the disloyalty, the treason in high government positions, one of the most important reasons why this continues is a lack of moral uprising on the part of the 140 million American people. In the light of history, however, this is not hard to explain. 6 years ago, at the time of the first conference to map out the peace, Dumbarton Oaks, there was within the Soviet orbit 180 million people. Lined up on the anti-totalitarian side, there were in the world at that time roughly 1.625 billion people. I have here in my hand a list of 205, a list of names that were made known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party, and who nevertheless are still working and shaping policy in the State Department. One thing to remember in discussing the communists in our government is that we are not dealing with spies who get 30 pieces of silver to steal the blueprints of a new weapon. At that time, one Whittaker Chambers, who was also part of the spy ring, apparently decided that with Russia on Hitler's side, he could no longer betray our nation to Russia. He gave Undersecretary of State Berla, and this is all a matter of record, practically all, if not more, of the facts upon which his conviction was based. As you hear this story of high treason, I know that you are saying to yourself, well, why doesn't the Congress do something about it? It is unnecessary to go over the sordid events showing how he sold out the nation which had given him so much. Those are rather fresh in all of our minds. However, it should be remembered that the facts in regard to his connection with this international communist spy ring were made known to the then Undersecretary of State Berla 3 days after Hitler and Stalin signed the Russo-German Alliance Pact. When this pompous diplomat in striped pants with a phony British accent proclaimed to the American people that Christ on the Mount endorsed communism, high treason, and betrayal of a sacred trust. In other words, in less than 6 years, the odds have changed from 9 to 1 in our favor to 8 to 5 against us. This indicates the swiftness of the tempo of communist victories and American defeats in the Cold War